step back, three for the tie. Oh, he's done it again! They get it to him, more in space, a burst of speed, a first down for Purdue. He's still going. More, cuts back, touchdown!
Oh, I like that.
Each one more.
Made it through that whole intro without coughing this time, so pretty
Just
proud of
muted my
myself.
mic because I knew that was going to happen.
Right. Welcome back, everybody, to the Bowler Express podcast. This is our second episode of 2023. I'm not sure what it is in total, but we've been trucking along since August, and we're having a blast. So this is the Boiler Express podcast, though, weekly Purdue podcast, where our goal is to have fun, shine a light on some great Boilermakers along the way, maintain a positive outlook on all things Purdue. And as always, I am your host, the Ultimate Boiler. We've got our normal crew here as well. We've got Dylan right above me. We've got Frank the Stat Tank, Chris or 50 Ghost. And we've got a special guest with us tonight. We're pretty excited about it. We have got a former Purdue Boilermaker, tight end, current Los Angeles Ram, and Super Bowl champion Brycen Hopkins. Brycen, thank you for joining the call tonight, man. We appreciate it.
What's going on, guys? I appreciate y'all for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, we're excited to get to talk to you. Just pick your brain a little bit about your time at Purdue, what it's been like in the first couple of seasons of your NFL career, and just get to know you more as a person, and hopefully put a spotlight on you for anybody tuning in right now to just get to know you better, which is always a great thing. So we'll kind of just get started here with your time at Purdue. So you came in, I believe, in 2016, and that was a time where right around the beginning of the Brom era. So a coaching change, new staff, and kind of a big time and a cultural shift of Purdue football. So what was that like going through that coaching change? Working with Coach Brom and all those guys. What was that change like for you guys?
Yeah, so I came in 2015, actually. I did 5 years, so my first 2 were under Hazel. So I got a good taste of some humblings that might have happened early in my couple years at Purdue. But definitely, as soon as I got the news that Brom was coming in, I started also getting the news from third parties that, oh, he likes his tight ends. So all I saw that was as an opportunity, just show him what I can do, what I'm capable of, and let him work with the rest. That's how a good coach works. So I just kind of put my faith in him. He was putting me in the right position on the field. As bread and butter. After that, I pretty much enjoyed every other game. After that, once they started kind of using me and exposing other people in matchups that they thought I could take advantage of. But yeah, you definitely see. I mean, the record will say for itself. Also, recruiting and other players like Rondale and Marcus, and even my boy Aiden, who came in my 5th year, and he's just had a hell of a year. I'll preach till the day I die that he is one of the main reasons why I had such a successful year my 5th year. And he deserves all the credit in the world that he had then and he's getting now. So just a lot of good guys on the team, a good team, and I appreciate Brom for shining a light on me.
Yeah, absolutely. And we, last year won the Music City Bowl against a pretty good Tennessee team, and then this year making it to the Big Ten championship game. What was that like for you to see that kind of unfold these last 2 seasons, seeing how successful they were? And did you think that Purdue would be in a position like that to be playing for the Big Ten title so soon?
I never want to think too highly of anybody, did not jinx them or anything. So, but that was a scenario that I knew they were capable of. Just nobody expects to actually see it. I knew Braum was capable of it, of course, pulling it together. But I had a few guys still on the team. Payne Durham, he's one of my youngins. I'm excited for him and what's to come for him in terms of his NFL and the combine career coming up here soon. But yeah, I'd just say that I'm definitely proud of all those guys for doing what they did and sticking to it. And I think a lot of players get a lot of crap for, like, if they don't play in the bowl game. The ones that are looking out for their futures, it's not just their futures in some scenarios, it's their family and friends, that they gotta take care of and provide for. So I'm just proud of those guys for sticking it out, and I definitely am close with a few of them, so it makes it a little bit more memorable for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Brycen, I know, gosh, I can just think of so many, awesome memories, and you playing in a Purdue uniform. But is there one moment or, thing that happened to you in particular as a player that happened while you were at Purdue that really just sticks out among the others?
Yeah, y'all actually played one of the clips before, and I know if you talk to anybody that was on the team, then they'd probably say it too. But that Ohio State game, 2018, was just it was it was a miracle. At the same time, we knew we could do it, but it was just everything came together perfectly. Our chemistry, just we played as one. The spirit of Tyler Trent, of course, is always going to go down as history in that game, as a part of our motivation and just something being in the air that was helping everything going our way. Besides our play, it was just one of the best moments in my athletic career that I'll always remember. I remember my dad storming the field and then my brother following him and actually knocking like he's sprinting on the field full speed, and I see it from across the field between people, like, it's like a movie scene, and he just decks some dude, like, and he couldn't even stop. He just decks him, lays him out, and he's like, sorry, and he keeps running to try and find me. I'm like, oh man. But yeah, it was my family was there for it too, and it was just a great game and experience all around for everybody.
That was the best game I've ever experienced in person.
It was crazy.
Yeah, I would have to agree. That was probably the best game I've ever been to in my life, of any sport. And, I was lucky enough to be able to storm the field and that as well. And the guy that I ran into, player from Purdue, was Antonio Blackman.
Yeah.
And I got the opportunity to tell him that he was, in my opinion, one of the MVPs of that game.
Yeah.
I mean, he showed up that night. So that was a really cool experience to get to tell him that. And
that's awesome.
One thing you don't.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's awesome, y'all. I don't meet a lot of people that actually got to be in the stands, that were there and got to see it. So that's crazy that you actually stormed.
As a guy from Ohio, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
That's awesome.
I can't.
Yeah,
one thing you don't.
My wife and I had just started dating around the time of that game, and so that was the first game I ever took her to, was the Purdue Ohio State game, and so she got to experience storming the field and everything. And she was talking about I was like, I don't know what game to bring you to next, because I don't know how it could get any better than what just happened. What just happened tonight? Like, this is the pinnacle right now. It was it was an incredible night. There was magic in the air. Everything was just perfect.
Yeah, definitely. That will I'll answer that every time, so if anybody ever asks that question again, know that that's what I'm coming at them with.
Well, that's a great answer, and it's one that you said you'll never forget, and I'm sure another night you'll never forget is winning this past Super Bowl, and that's as far as I'm concerned, the pinnacle of sports. What was that like for you? I can just imagine that being an extremely surreal feeling. But what was that like for you personally to experience that?
You know what? It was absolutely surreal, but I'll be honest, it didn't kick in until really that next day, that next morning, when I woke up, sore from the game, which I hadn't been doing at all previously in the season, because when you don't play in the games, you don't get sore, That's kind of how it works. So I wasn't being used as well. Maybe I wasn't up to par with my play, but I know that I was developing myself as a player and kind of in the process, and all I wanted was opportunity early on in that season. And it kind of forced its way into the situation with injury. And I was grateful for the opportunity, whatever way it came, whether it was forced or they just, wanted to test some things out. But everything was going smoothly with the offense they were running, so they didn't see a reason to switch it up and maybe go a little more 12. But yeah, I would say that it was unexpected, to say the least, because of what I had come through early on in the season and what I had battled through just trying to get some playing time. And then next thing you know, it's like, well, you're up and you're out there in the playoffs. And then now you've got 2 weeks to prepare for a Super Bowl. And even then, you got 2 weeks to prepare. You haven't played the game yet. You don't know what it's like to actually participate in one, let alone win one. So it was surreal, but I'd just say it didn't even hit me until that next morning. I just remember that last drive after we had scored and the defense had to hold him out. I'm just sitting there like, this could really happen. Like, what's on the table for me is like crazy to think that this is where I would have been going from the start of the season. And then also just even losing it with just the opportunity. I was just thanking God the whole time and just asking, just let us pull it out. Let us pull it out. I know we can. I know we got this, but just let us capitalize. And I just sat there with my hands on my jersey and my pads and just prayed and waited. And even when the confetti started dropping and the last whistle was blown and AD got the fourth down stop, it still didn't feel. I kind of like was looking around like, is that it? Like, can we? I don't know. Like, what's next? Still didn't feel real. But yeah, definitely once I saw my family and people and the smiles on their faces started to set in.
So kind of to piggyback off that a little bit, what's it like holding the Lombardi trophy? Is it heavy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had grown up hearing about it. You might know I never took after football much early in my life, but I did know a little bit about the history just because my dad playing for so long. And I hear a lot about it, the Lombardi trophy, the Lombardi, I don't even know who this guy is, but the trophy gets brought up a lot. And yeah, the picture with my mom and my dad is just something that I'll cherish forever. It was a surreal moment that I never thought I'd be achieving, let alone so early on in my career. But yeah, had to have it to give it a kiss,
When I've grown up a big Steelers fan, and I remember Mike Tomlin and Troy Polamalu talking about the fact that the trophy gets sticky, that it's not clean anymore. By the time it makes its way around the team, it's kind of dirty, and so he always talked about passing around a sticky Lombardi. Sorry, Dylan, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, you're good. So playing the Super Bowl in SoFi at your home field had to be pretty cool. And we all know how cool SoFi Stadium is. Never been there, but it looks like a spaceship and it looks incredible. But besides SoFi, what's an environment or a stadium or even a city that kind of is your favorite or most memorable? What's one that stuck out to you?
Yeah, I would say one of the stadiums I enjoyed most this year was Tampa Bay. Just because, honestly, was that a night game? I believe it. I don't know. Nobody.
Yeah.
I don't know. I believe it was a night game, but I just remember they shut the lights off and everything was red early on the intro, and it was like, man, like this is hype. Like they got the music playing, all the animation, the lights going everywhere, the crowd's cheering. It's not minus 40 degrees. It was an all around good experience, and we couldn't win the game, but you take every game with a grain of salt, win or loss.
And the pirate ship, it seems.
Yeah, exactly. And same with the Seahawks. I like the Seahawks. They got that little, I don't even know, point section over there. It's like a point, kind of looks like and they hire people to toss bread, so they got the Seahawks flying around and stuff, all the seagulls.
They really do? Also, holy cow, I never knew
that. I saw it at the game the other week, and I was like, man, they gotta be like, those are paid actors. There's no way they just got Seahawks out here just flying around. But yeah, also Green Bay. It was colder than all get out, but they just know how to play football up there. And if anybody who's going to come sit in that game is a true fan, just to sit in that weather all the time. So wear cheese on their head. They're good.
And one thing you mentioned, talking about the Super Bowl was, AD getting that stop on fourth down, and he's one of my favorite players. And was just wondering, you came into a team with some really, really elite players. Did you go through a period of being starstruck? I know I couldn't help myself from doing that, I'm sure, but did you experience anything like that?
Yeah. So me kind of growing up around football and celebrities and people that get a lot of attention in media, it kind of just was the standard for me. So I've never really had anyone, like, besides my dad and, like, people that I'm actually close to. I've never had anybody that I don't know that I actually like look up to in a way that I see I can't do. Like, I'm trying to say, like, I see those athletes and I think of myself as capable of achieving those same strides.
Hell yeah.
So I respect the hell out of them for their accomplishments and their abilities, but I've never had that starstruck feeling like, oh my gosh, is that him? It's like, it's more of like a, oh, what's up? Like, what's good? Like, respect your gameplay. Let's get after it type deal. But
Like they came off like regular people, like anybody
yeah,
else,
exactly.
like
That's
other teammates.
Yeah, exactly. And I know that's not for people who
I love it.
see them every day on TV, that's kind of it. They're idolized in that sense, and I'm not trying to take away any of their credit. Of course, they're hell of people and hell of an athlete just to be on TV that way. But yeah, I've never actually had that feeling. I guess I'm not sure, but yes, I do recognize the ability, and seeing that coming from college, seeing Aaron Donald take two people with two hands and just throw them on the ground, and then Stafford's throwing no-look passes, Kupp's making 4 or 5 jabs before his routes, making people fall. The stuff that you see coming into the league, coming from Purdue or college in general, is definitely a level up. So I'll give them credit when credit is due. Yeah, their abilities are crazy, and I'm surrounded by great people too. That's the thing. Y'all see
Aaron
a
Donald
lot
would
of them
terrify me to
play.
see
You
in the
don't get to
person.
meet them, and be there and see how they are, what their character is like when nobody's around.
And you kind of touched on it a little bit, coming from college to the NFL, and it's both fields are 100 yards and it's got 2 goalposts, and we've always heard about the speed of the game and stuff like that, but how much of the college game translates to the NFL? I'm sure schemes and thought processes do pretty much, but there seems to be, from the outside looking in, like a large learning gap. So is that really the case, or kind of how's that play out?
Yeah, so definitely when you first get here, the first thing that you notice is the size difference, the physicality difference, the speed, just the talent, the overall talent level just increases. But then once you start to learn the scheme of the offense or the defense, you start to realize how detailed everything is. And that's where the mental game comes in. You're like, okay, well, now I got to take a step up in my physical, in my workouts, and in my mental, in my meetings, in my note taking. I got to watch film after this. This is my job now. I can't walk around here just on scholarship, just hanging out, taking advantage of just going to free school. This is how I put food on the table. And of course, we get paid to do this. Well, it's more than enough to put food on the table, but it's a sacrifice of our bodies and our minds that we make, and it is a strenuous process. Just putting in the work to go out there and succeed on Sunday or whenever we play.
Well, another thing you touched on that I'd like to talk a little bit more about is you looking up to a lot of people that you knew personally, and growing up in a football family. What was that like? Growing up with a father who played in the NFL for I believe a good portion of your childhood, if I'm correct.
Yeah. So I was born in '97. He played from '93 to '96. So I at least got 8 or 9 of his seasons in there. And I was, just like I said, in meeting people who have received a lot of attention and notoriety for their capabilities. Um, it's kind of the standard. It was just I grew up going to the games on Sundays and then going into the locker rooms after the game with the team and just chilling in there until he was ready. Everyone thought that was so cool, but that was just part of the process. Smell dad after the game, smells like sweat, grass, and ASS, and then yeah, dude, and then you get a hug from him, and that's all normal. Saturday night, stay at grandma's house, get breakfast in the morning before the game. It's just there's special privileges that I didn't realize until I got older that wasn't part of a normal childhood's upbringing. And I'm not saying I'm saying, normal child doesn't mean of a normal or more average childhood, I should say. Um, but it has its ups and downs. Everybody's always got their eyes on you, and you're born with a standard and expectation. I didn't start playing football till I got my junior year of college, or not college, junior year of high school. So, for me to defy that standard for so long, I got a few ugly looks here and now just for not even trying it, but it worked out in the end. So, look at me now. I'll talk to him all day about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And not to change the subject too much or anything, but you're from Nashville. Great place to go. Fun place to hang out on the weekends. So I'm not from Nashville, so I'm kind of more of a tourist when it comes to going to Nashville and everything. I hang out on Broadway, go to all the
Yeah,
places, go to Printer's Alley, hang out at Miss Kelly's.
yeah.
Shout out Miss Kelly's, the
Miss
karaoke bar.
Kelly's, what you know about that?
Oh, I know everything about that, man. I love
That's
Miss Kelly's.
crazy.
But yeah, man. So what's like? I know that there's always that stigma of tourists coming to a town and not knowing where the spots are. So where are like the spots to go when you're in Nashville?
Yeah. So have you guys been to Nashville? Other gang been to Nashville? Yeah.
Yep.
I was at the
I went
Music
to
City
Music
Bowl
City
against
Bowl.
Auburn. That
Oh
was one
God,
of my
that
last
doesn't
time.
count then. You were not in Nashville for
I was
that.
at the
I don't know what
I mean,
Tennessee.
I saw Nashville in the days before, but
Yeah, the
yeah.
Tennessee one, it's cool. You were having a good time. The Auburn one, I wasn't even there. All right, nobody.
Yeah,
The
what?
film,
I don't think the
God
game even
wasn't there for
happened.
that. Yeah, that was. I don't know what happened about that, but
I don't remember that. No.
yeah, nobody does. We won't talk about it anyway. Anyways, yeah, I would say so. If you're going down on Broadway, some of my favorite bars are definitely Whiskey Row, Jason Aldean's and Luke Bryan's, which is
I love
basically like the
Jason
same
Aldean's.
bar, but
Well,
it's just
Dean's is amazing.
yeah, it's like a 4-story, like huge, just
The
maze.
rooftop's
Like
pretty
they got
sweet.
everything. Yeah, the rooftop. They got live
Just
music.
don't go during the day in July because it's
Oh
hot.
my God. Well, you can't go anywhere down there in the day during July. Like I gotta bring 2 shirts just so I can change because I'll have sweat stains everywhere else on me. But yeah, I'd say also Midtown, which people don't know about unless you really visit and leave Broadway. But Winners, Losers, Dogwood, and then Kung Fu, and then if you stay an extra couple of days, I would go down to the east side, East Nashville, check out some of the, um, I call them hippie bars over there, but they're really cool. Like they're really cool people out there, really cool bars, little arcade bars, just fun things to do all around the city. And there's a new thing to do there every day. I swear, it's blowing up that much. You can find something to do.
Yeah, I love going to Nashville. And funny story, my grandparents actually got married, and of all places, they had their honeymoon in Nashville, and they went to Tootsie's when they got
Tootsie's,
married, and
Tootsie's.
they listened to this guy, this no name at the time, who was playing some no name guy named Alan Jackson was
Oh yeah.
trying to put his name out there
That is
on
crazy.
Broadway. Yeah,
I
it's
actually
great.
used to live right next to him. He used to have a little house back in my old neighborhood in Nashville called Hidden River. It was on a lake, and we'd take our
Oh wow.
four-wheelers back there. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just saying, wow, like that's cool.
Oh, I thought you said hold on. No, my fault.
You're good.
But yeah, I used to live next to him. I met him once or twice. So yeah, that's crazy though. That's you, and that's Nashville. You meet people like that all the time. You never know. I know he might not have been that big back then, but you could be walking down the street and everybody looks like Luke Bryan. That might actually be him. That might actually be him. You don't know.
Right. So, kind of going back to Purdue a little bit, Coach Brom went back home. He's at Louisville now. And so we got Coach Walters in the building. And not only is Coach Walters in the building, but, there's a lot of change coming to Ross-Ade. There's all the renovations and everything like that. Have you gotten to check any of that out or kind of keep up on that at all?
I actually haven't. I hadn't had a chance to see that. Fill me in on that.
Yeah, man. So they're gonna put a tunnel on the like a corner of the north end zone. They're putting in a tunnel for the team to run out through on the field.
Finally, not an air blown up one. Not cool.
Yeah, and they're actually kind of it's not going to be like officially a bowl, but they're redoing the south end zone and they're gonna like kind of close it in. And I think you guys would know maybe better than I do, but I think like the band and the student section are going to be in that area.
That'd be nice. That'd be way better for like spirit of the game, just to have it in the end zone. That's how the big schools do it. I like it like that.
Yeah, and I think it's going to add like 5,000 or 6,000 more seats to the stadium, something like that.
I think it'll be up to like 63 or 65,000.
Yeah, now we're talking. It's crazy to think that college stadiums have like 105, like Penn State, whatever theirs is. That is crazy. But yeah, that's awesome. That is, I mean, long overdue. But I wasn't talking because we got the facility, the new not Molotov. What? I'm blanking. What did we name the
Cruiser, Crozen, or
something? Yeah, I don't. Yeah, the facility for me, the new building, that's what it was. But I upgraded from wooden lockers and crappy everything else to just
crazy,
even better than what I have now. So I'm thankful for that.
Dang.
Yeah.
So kind of touching back in West Lafayette, one of the other guys who's normally on the pod, but he's got a scheduling conflict, had this question. He said, Purdue's well known for cradle quarterbacks, extended defensive ends. As we saw when drafting, building our offense a few episodes back, we have a lot of talent at the tight end room. Is there a similar fraternity among those positions? And if you kind of talk to guys like Tim Stratton or Dustin Keller or some of those early 2000s and late 90s Big Ten or big size tight ends that were in the Tiller era?
Yeah. We, of course, their film was a little old by the time I had gotten there, but not Dustin Keller necessarily, but definitely Tim Stratton. But we did look at them just to see how they played and how they succeeded. I would definitely credit it more to the coach, of course. It's the offensive scheme. I wouldn't say Purdue necessarily has like a rich history of using tight ends. I just say it's more of they got some good players and good coaches know how to recruit, and they saw the right type of athleticism in people. Just like Brom has a history of, like early on when I was coming out in college, I visited WKU and actually toured with Higbee. So he was Brom's product, and I got to see how he operates. And then I go to school. Brom comes to my school, runs basically the exact same offense, and utilizes me in almost the exact same way. And then now we've got Payne Durham coming out this year down the line. It's more of the offense and a systemic thing more than just like the history of the school, I'd say. But definitely we do have some names that might not even get enough attention than what they deserve in the past, just because, we're not Ohio State or Alabama.
Yeah, and honestly, there's a lot of good names out there. And one thing I loved about Purdue, especially around the time that you were there, is that we had a kind of a two-headed sword there with you as the tight end, and then you also had Cole Herdman as well, who was pretty good, pretty darn good as well. And it was cool because, man, it was either one of you guys were going to get that ball, or it was going to be Rondale, and you never knew. And I think that made the Purdue offense so dynamic because that you guys just had so many weapons on that team.
Yeah, I definitely, that was one of the times that I've had more fun playing football, was just playing with Cole, and just the way that Brom utilizes two tight ends and the 12 set is perfect for just people looking to participate, make plays, willing to block, but also get some pass catches and get some yards and tuds in the book. But yeah, Cole, that's one of my best friends till the day I die. He'll tell you. So that's awesome. That's awesome that you remember the 88-89 combo, the dynamic duo.
Absolutely. You guys were like I'm a big wrestling fan, so you guys were like the Road Warriors out there tearing it up, man.
I'll tell him you said that. That's funny.
Yeah, no, I love watching both of you guys out there. It was awesome to see. And so just a couple more questions here, and then we'll wrap up because I know you've got a busy schedule and everything.
Yeah, you're good.
But just we've talked a little bit about your time in the NFL and everything, and the players that you've gotten to play with, winning the Super Bowl. But to get to the NFL, you got to get drafted first. And so, tell us what that was like, man, getting that phone call, going through the whole draft process. Give us some insight on that. I'd love to know.
It was a little bit later than I thought. That's what I'll start out with. But at the same time, I didn't have that mentality. I was just looking for an opportunity. So whoever saw something in me that they could work with, I was going to roll with it. I was going to give them everything I had. So just to get that call from the Rams, and it was Les initially on the phone, and to get to talk to them and Sean, it was something that, of course, I'll never forget. And just having it was the COVID draft, if you didn't know. So everybody was at home. We had the whole gang at the crib. We were all there just waiting. And when my name got called, people were like, LA, like they're thinking in their head, like I'm going all the way over to the opposite side of the country. My brother's crying, my dad's crying, my mom's crying. I'm trying not to cry over there. I'm like, all right, guys, come on, let's pull it together here. But yeah, it was something that I just remember being filled with so much excitement and not necessarily anxiety, but just uncertainty for the future, which makes it exciting, So I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, we were all stoked, the night that you got drafted. Definitely well deserved, and awesome to see how your NFL career has started and it's kind of continued to progress. Leading up to this episode, I've been talking to friends. I'm sure you guys have all been talking to some friends as well, just about we get to talk to Brycen on this episode. We're excited about it. And I'm not gonna lie, one thing that I was hearing consistently is like, oh man, Brycen Hopkins, like that's no joke. That guy is developing pretty well. So
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I don't get on Twitter and log in and look at all that feedback and stuff. So I appreciate hearing that.
Good for you.
That's awesome.
Good for you.
Yeah, good
honestly.
for me, right?
1,000%.
I just have one more question though, but before I kind of round us out here and finish up, does anybody else have a final question for Brycen?
I have a very quick. I have a very, very quick question.
We're good. Yeah, whatever you want.
You talked about talking with Sean. Finding out you're getting drafted. Again, he's one of my favorite coaches, and you see those videos of him and being able to recall specific plays from like 2 or 3 seasons prior. Is he really that smart, or is that just for show?
He's even smarter. It's ridiculous. He's even smarter than what you see on TV. Like sometimes he has to slow. Like I get a POV of him up there at the front of the room coaching us, and I can see the reaction off his face because he's going into so much detail that it doesn't make sense to some people that their faces are like looking kind of weird. So he's up there like, okay, let me slow it down for you a little bit and break it down like this, just because he knows that not everybody has that ability. It doesn't click for everybody the way that it does for him. But it is definitely amazing to see the way that he's able to take everything off the whiteboard and just apply it immediately onto the field, or just switch people and still know every little intricate detail of the system. And also just to be in that pressure in the moment and call plays like that out of the playbook that we have, which I can tell you is very large and hard to get down within at least 1 year. But it is he is everything and more in that aspect, and he's a great coach, and I'll give it to him that he deserves all that credit when it comes to how smart he is in this game.
Awesome. Dylan, did you say you had a final question?
Oh, so you play for the Rams, who in my opinion have one of the best uniform sets in the league. But while at Purdue, what was your favorite uniform set? I know they broke out a lot of different looks during the first couple of years of the Brom era.
Yeah, they did, and I
chrome
was
dome.
surprised.
Yeah, man.
They-
These
yeah,
jerseys, I got
the
one luckily.
chrome, you reminded me. Yeah, what was that? The first game was it was green. The team was green. Who was it? 2018, second game of the season. We wore chrome. Played
Was it Ohio?
Ohio.
Ohio,
That's who it was. We played
OU.
Ohio, and we wore the chrome. It was like a Thursday night game or something like that.
Mhm.
I remember that. I had never worn anything like that. That was sick. I would say either we wore the chrome for like another game after that, which was a better fit than just all the full black, but that was great. I would say the Maryland all whites in 2019.
Oh yeah, the
The
like
nasty uniform.
yeah, the NASA, the astronaut theme with
Oh yeah.
that was sick. We had like moon prints on our helmet and stuff, and yeah, the
gold
white
face
out.
mask was awesome.
Yeah, the gold face mask. That's what it. Yeah, I thought that was sick. So that was probably my favorite.
What's
That's
your
awesome,
favorite
man.
Rams combo?
Oh, I never got, dude. So I don't know if it's my favorite because I never got to play in it, but they stopped playing in the all yellows in 2019. I wanted to play in the all yellow so bad. Some people might not like that, but right now what we have, I'd say, is the all blue. I like the all blue.
Yeah.
Those yellows were aggressive.
Yeah, exactly.
it
But
was-
I've never worn anything like that, and I got some stuff like that in my closet. I like to break out some crazy.
That was
stuff every
that was
time.
like the Hazel era neon green. Like there was a lot going on.
I hated that. I will never
Me
forget
too.
that. I hated that. I will never forget that. And we lost the game too. We weren't supposed to lose. I remember the game. Oh God,
Man. Well, just a last question here, just to wrap up, and again, Brycen, thank you for your time and hopping on here tonight. But
yeah, of course.
So if you could give anybody out there an elevator speech, any recruit, anybody that's in the transfer portal, because the transfer portal is definitely a different breed than it was when you were in college. Now, honestly, in just the last couple of years, it's totally changed, especially with all this NIL stuff and everything. But if you could give anybody like a quick elevator speech on why they should come to Purdue, what would that be?
I would say an idea is nothing until it's put into action. Literally nothing. That's what I would say. I would say that you don't have the time that you think you have to develop without putting in all of your might into your passion. If it's something that you haven't found the passion to love for yet, I urge you to keep trying, because it's something that I've fought through, and it is a beautiful process. But there is no beautiful result without the beautiful process. So the ups and downs are going to come, but I would say just start now. Like, take advantage of every opportunity you have now to be a better player, be a better person, be a better brother, be a better son, whatever it takes. You're going to find yourself carving a path for you that just makes it easier for the days that come ahead. It's crazy to think that I just thought back in college, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to come into the system immediately. I'm going to be a pro. I wasn't saying I'm going to be a pro bowler, but some people like to come in to think that it's going to be handed to them, which I wasn't thinking that. I just knew that I had to put in the work. But at the same time, you just think, oh, maybe I can take a break here and there. You have no idea how much it's going to set you up for success if you just push a little harder. Just push through the pain now so you can just succeed in the days later. It will just make everything so much easier for you. So, yeah, I would just say put everything into action. All your ideas that you have, just manifest them, and just be a better player, person all around. And the process starts now. You don't have time.
Absolutely, man. You got me trying to run through a brick wall middle of the episode.
Yeah, right.
No, but yeah, awesome. Well, Brycen, we thank you so much for your time, man. What a great time to get to know you, have other people get to know you more, hear about your experiences at Purdue, the NFL, and all the above. Just an overall good dude. So we were happy to have you on, man. Thanks for being on.
I appreciate you guys for reaching out and having me on. It was awesome. Y'all are the best, brother.
All right, man. Take care.
All
Have
right,
a good
man.
one. Have a safe off
Thanks,
season.
Brycen. Appreciate
Yes,
you.
sir. Thank you.
It's really interesting to hear him say that about falling in love with the process. And And it immediately made me think of what Coach Walters had said. What he looks for in his recruits is, do you love the game?
Yeah.
And he said, a lot of people, they love what comes with the game. They love the fanfare and the notoriety, but that what he looks for in his recruits is, do they actually love the game? Because you can never be truly great unless you have that love. And that is interesting to hear, from a guy who's achieved at the highest level, a guy who's achieved at the highest level to hear a very similar way of thinking is,
and I've always said this. I think I think Coach Walters kind of probably would agree with the sentiment. And I kind of have the same thing about with my job. Like, a lot of guys want the title of X, Y, or Z, but they don't want to put the work in to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, man, what a guy. Dude, just everything that he said, just not to kiss ass or anything, but just everything he said and just the way he talked about, his time at Purdue and what it takes to be great and successful, man. He's just a Purdue guy.
Yep.
Through and through. He's what we all love about Purdue and everything. So super cool.
Thanks again for Brycen coming on. That was good.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That's 2 for 2 players from that era, I believe, who have said that Moon uniform was their favorite too, which is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that thing was beautiful. That was art.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. Oddly, every time I think about the uniform, I think about Milton Wright every single time.
Every time I think about that uniform, I think about Corey Trice's pick six.
Yeah.
I wish I thought like that. Every time I think about it, I just think about how annoying UCF is.
Dude, there's a guy on a Facebook group, like Purdue Collectors Facebook group, and he has 3 of those mini helmets of the Moon helmets, and he's selling them for
$175 apiece.
Yeah, dude. He's like, hey, $200 and it's yours. And it's like, oh man. I mean, I'm sure it's worth it because they don't make them. I haven't seen them online since the original release, but man,
I'll just print my own. Thank you though.
Yeah. Just make one. Yeah.
Good for that guy. Good for him.
Well, I think it's time to probably touch on a little bit of basketball before we end this episode.
We do have a basketball team. That is true. Yeah.
And they're pretty good.
Yeah.
Real quick, before we get too much into it. So I know everybody was talking about that 6-game stretch, which started with Rutgers. Have we finished that stretch, or was Michigan State the culmination of that? Did we go 5-1 instead of a lot of people were saying like 4-2, 3-3.
So I mean, we had Rutgers, Ohio State, Penn State, Nebraska, Michigan State.
Okay,
and then we was doing it, and then we play at Minnesota. So
cool, nice. So 4-1.
Ohio State Sunday.
Yeah, so 4-1 so far in that 6-game skid. That's pretty
Maryland
good.
Sunday.
Oh, is it Maryland? I thought it was Ohio State.
Yeah,
okay,
my bad.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah, red team, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, there's I don't even know where to start. When it comes to basketball, I mean, we've played a lot of games. Penn State, I mean, gosh, what a game! That was just basketball chess from buzzer to buzzer in that one.
I will say,
or just say hats off to Jalen Pickett. That guy is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the future of Penn State is very bright under Micah Shrewsbury.
They're in a battle right now with Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin's only up 3 with like under 4 to go. And they haven't won in Wisconsin since 95. But anyway, I think that we saw a switch flip, I feel like, after Rutgers. Kind of like Painter always says, you learn more from a loss than a win, right? And I think that we've seen a good change in this team with a little bit being a little bit more sound in certain areas. Sure, we have our hiccups. I'm not saying that we've been perfect, but things definitely seem to have changed a lot, and I think the guys kind of woke up a little bit.
Yeah, and it seems like, I mean, it previous seasons, it may take a few games skid to really snap out of it, or maybe not even snap out of it, whereas it literally took losing by 1 point to Rutgers for especially Braden Smith. He's been playing like pissed off the last 5 games, and it's
him
been
and Lawyer both
awesome to watch. Yeah, Lawyer too.
Yeah.
My God, these guys are freshmen. It's just like I could just keep saying that over and over again because it's insane to
Big
me.
Ten is going to hate those two over the next 4 years.
Well, and I don't necessarily. I mean, yes, losing to Rutgers definitely was kind of a wake up call, but I think it was how we lost to Rutgers too. I mean, just I know I said it on here before. I felt like we didn't value every possession to the extent that we needed to. And I mean, there were just so many tiny little mistakes, silly turnover, unforced turnovers. Yeah, Rutgers turns a lot of teams over, but a lot of the turnovers we committed in that game weren't because of Rutgers. They were just, carelessness.
I'd
We
say a
had
third of them were probably unforced.
self-induced, and so we get one of those possessions back, we maybe win that game. And what's crazy is we were in position to win that game, and Cam Spencer is didn't just do it to us too. He's unreal.
He's a monster.
But I think that showed that, hey, we were just one silly mistake, one careless, one bad shot, miss layup, not boxing out away from winning that game. And that's what it's going to take to really win a championship. And that got that awesome video that I think it was Purdue Creative made, where Painter says we're not champions yet. We have to show that we're champions, and you can never say like, oh, we're good. This we can look at someone's record and say this is an easy game. I think that Rutgers game really did a good job of instilling that. One interesting thing, kind of a marker that I'm paying attention to that happened in that Rutgers game is that was the last time Trey Kaufman-Renn had played double-digit minutes. Since then, he played 7 minutes at Ohio State, 5 at Penn State, 7 against Nebraska, and only 3 at Michigan State. And listening to the Painter show tonight, Painter described him as being in a bit of a rut right now, which you definitely hate to see. But I know he's been in foul trouble the last couple of games, but I think when you play behind, someone like Zach Edey, it's just going to be hard to get minutes. But
hard to get in rhythm.
Hard to get in rhythm, absolutely.
Yeah. Same thing Painter said about Newman.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But I think the important part that we've seen in the last we've had 2 games since that Rutgers game that were one possession, I think, that we ended up coming out on top. And I think it's because we executed better. You look at the Ohio State and the Michigan State game. If that pass against Michigan State from Lawyer to Edey is off by a little bit, that whole play's blown out of the water. If that pass from Lawyer to Edey, where Lawyer hits the 3 against Ohio State, is off, or Edey doesn't recognize the tag that he does, or some of the guys on the backside, Gillis moving around and stuff like that, I think that is kind of blown out of the water. So I think that's where I kind of really see how we've kind of clicked a little bit since then.
On the bravado of Fletcher Lawyer, in these last couple of games. I mean, against Ohio State. I mean that was an insane shot. I mean, like, you obviously don't want to drop 2 in a row. The game hasn't been great, and then just to sink that shot, the dagger, that basically wins the game, and then to go out and score 27, against Nebraska at home, and then yesterday against Michigan State. He kind of took over in that second half, in the middle of the second half. I mean, he was taking shots. I mean, he has no fear, and he has no memory too. He could be 0 from 6, and he's still coming out shooting.
Painter said it in his presser after the game. He scored 11 of his 17 points in the last 5.5 minutes.
I just don't know how many games it's going to take for Fletcher Lawyer to realize that these players have families, damn it. That's all I'm saying. He's just out here just reckless, just ruining people's livelihoods. Just
when speaking of his 27-point performance, I mean that game against Nebraska could not have gone more polar opposite of the previous game against Nebraska. I mean, Fletch was 6 for 12 from 3 in that game, 50%. The first game against Nebraska was kind of the first game of our, hopefully it's behind us, but our streak where we couldn't shoot the ball. Nebraska doubled Edey and dared us to shoot threes, and it almost worked. Painter said it several times that's going to be a game we look back and say, man, we were really fortunate to win that one. We got a questionable call that went our way at the end there that gave us the ball. We've pulled out some some miracles at the end of games. Ethan Morton getting that steal against Ohio State.
Yeah,
the Edie just getting fouled by Matty Sissoko, and that's a whole other conversation. And then just drop steps and lays it in at the end. I mean, and then to play defense like we had to do, which to me it looked like it should have been about 0.8 seconds and not 1.8. But I'm not gonna, it's neither here nor there. But the big thing about the Nebraska game with Fletcher that kind of was under the radar is the 10 points from Gillis in that game. He was really solid. He's been shooting the ball well, in only 19 minutes too. I mean, First has been playing really well, so there's kind of a logjam at that position. But it's just nice to see him score the ball.
That first hit yesterday was clutch in the closing minutes. They had just went up 4 off of a 3 by Walker, and then he hits that dagger in the corner to bring it back in. Because honestly, that could have been a real tide changer. If hit that 3.
So fast forwarding to Michigan State, you're absolutely right. That is the game-changing moment because Michigan State had just gone up 4. The crowd's into it. All the momentum is with them, and they run that horns twist into a pick and roll, and he just clears out to the corner, and Braden no-look passes right to him, and he just drains that 3. I mean, and just you could feel the air being let out of that stadium at that point.
Wait,
I mean,
Braden
we missed
threw a
that
no-look
shot.
pass? I'm so suppressed.
Yeah, I've watched that play several times to fully understand it. But yeah, he acted like he was going to drive and then just no look out to his right. But I mean, it didn't matter. He was a lawyer was setting a screen for him to get open, kind of an exit screen. But I mean that shot doesn't go in. Michigan State pulls in that rebound. The intensity gets ratcheted up, and
now you're looking at 6 or 7 points, and
the outcome of that game could be totally different. So that is the turning point moment in that game for me. But while we're talking about that game, let's talk about the foul.
Which one?
Supposed flagrant
foul. Didn't get called.
So I think that the foul on Sissoko was justified. It was just called at the wrong moment in time, because when that ref calls the foul, he calls it when there's that hook and hold going on. So the entire crowd and everybody at home is screaming BS because they think it's for the hook and hold, or it should be for the hook and hold. What happens a split second before that is that Sissoko impedes Edie's ability to land back on the ground with the rebound, which is that initial foul. He gets in front of him, kind of blocks his feet or his landing area, which I think that's the foul that he's calling, but he just calls it so late.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. And yeah, there was a blatant foul. Edie went as vertical as a human being can go. Grabbed the ball with 2 hands. Sissoko gets his hand in between, starts to pull out. I just don't understand how you can commit a flagrant foul by grabbing a ball, pulling it down, and then rotating your body. I just don't understand how that could warrant a flagrant foul, because that is, in every sense of the phrase, a basketball move.
Yeah.
Now, I do think that, they got tangled up and he ended up throwing Sissoko to the ground completely unintentionally. But their foul occurred before that, and it should have never been allowed to happen because the foul occurred before that. But, I've never seen a fan base complain about officiating so much after a game.
I'm sure we have a time or two.
The Michigan State fan base is, I've seen video breakdowns. There was an article written about that call saying that the Big Ten needs to change how they officiate Zach Edey, which I couldn't agree more. He's 15th in the country in fouls, drawn per 40 minutes. And, in my opinion, he should be, top 3. So I would love to see that happen as well. But there's, he was getting fouled by Sissoko that entire final possession. Caleb First was mobbed under the basket. So, I mean, there's that video surfacing of the guy just shoving Brandon Newman from behind, just tackling them straight football style.
I even made the comment, I think at the beginning of that game yesterday in our group chat, that said, First was getting tackled on every offensive rebound attempt.
There was a lot of them.
And also,
there was a whole lot of them.
Izzo just casually running to the middle of the court and chewing the refs out and not getting anything, just nothing.
Yeah. Just a mad little elf.
They're like it's like they're like working at like these refs working in a nursing home, and they just know like, oh, that's just Izzo. He'll be fine. We'll
Dude,
give him his.
I'm going to say this. He is Fran McCaffrey, but doesn't get teed up.
Yeah.
I think he's worse than Fran McCaffrey.
Well, yes.
Izzo's a great coach. He sounded like an angsty teenager in his press conference.
Oh,
and he said, "I'm not going to complain about the referees," and then proceeds to complain about the referees for like 15 minutes straight. Like, yeah, and I don't know. I love Matt Painter. I've never heard Painter after a game complain about referees. Like, I've never heard him like act as if the referees cost him a game. Heard Danny Manning do it. I've heard Izzo do it more than once. I just can do you all remember a time where Painter's like, got in a press conference and complained about a call?
No, not during the press conference. You definitely see him like during the game. It's funny because he looks at the ref and he's just like, that was a foul, right? Like you can read his lips.
Yeah.
It's like
I want to say earlier in the season there was something. I want to say the Nebraska game. I thought he said something, and it wasn't like outright like busting on the refs like we've seen with other coaches, but there was just like it was more of a bust on the refs if you read between the lines.
Yeah, I don't recall. I mean, I'm not disputing that, but I don't recall
find
that.
it.
Yeah. That's
no. I think that Painter is. I think we're seeing Painter evolve into his final form as a coach. I think last year and this year he's completely changing. Like
his press conferences are hilarious.
And maybe he's not completely changing anything. Maybe he's just being himself. But like I feel like he's just more like locked in. Like not locked in. What's the right word here? I feel like he's like 10 steps ahead of what everybody's talking about and thinking and doing. I feel like he's already like at tomorrow during today.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. I think he's just on another level right now.
He's thinking 5 or 6 moves ahead when he's playing chess.
Yeah. He plays chess when everybody plays checkers.
Yeah, and I agree completely. It's like he's transcended his previous form, right? He is on another level right now with his coaching, and I love the extent to which he just doesn't seem to care anymore. Yeah. Like he cares about what he does. He doesn't care about who he upsets or what he says or like he's like that quote that I saw the other day. It's like you need to get over yourself. Is what he tells his players. You got to be able to get over yourself. And
correct me if I'm. Oh, sorry, I thought you were done.
No, go ahead.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but does it seem like Painter's been more confident in the last couple of seasons?
Absolutely.
Like that's
100%.
what I've noticed. Like when he makes a decision, 1, he sticks with it, and 2, he is willing to take the brunt if it doesn't work. Like he's like, I've done this long enough. I know what I'm doing. Like he's not second guessing himself. He doesn't listen to the noise, and he just seems more, I don't want to say stubborn. That's not more bulldog-ish when it comes to his decision.
I agree.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
When he's he's talked about last year's team, and he said, if I tell you to do something and you go out and do it and it doesn't work, like that's on me. But if I tell you to do something and you go out and you do something completely different, like it's hard for me to take responsibility for that. And he said, like, I am going to put you in the best possible position to succeed. And the like air of confidence he had about him when he was making those statements was very apparent. And even, in the press conference after the Michigan State game, when I don't want to say the reporter was necessarily making a negative comment about those switching 1 through 5, more so just confirming that's what he was trying to do. But by switching 1 through 5, we were able to take away Michigan State's primary action on offense, and made them beat us in a completely different way. It doesn't look great when you have, what did Tyson Walker, 30 points, from Tyson Walker, but we made them do it in a way they're not used to doing it. That's the thing is we were icing their ball screens, not allowing them to snake and use their side pick and rolls. And And in fact, we actually made them go away from it completely. According to him in the press conference, they wanted to start trapping those side ball screens, and they just stopped doing it altogether. So, yes, when you have a guy like Hauser trying to post up on Braden Smith, or Edey trying to guard Tyson Walker, which I feel like he did a decent job of on the perimeter. It's going to look a little weird, especially when the shot goes in. But I mean, man, the guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and shout out to Tyson Walker. I mean, my God, he was insane. Especially the last. I was only able to catch about the last 7 minutes of that game. And he.
So you're there for an hour with the way the last 49 seconds went.
Yeah, and he just was unstoppable. Was just insane. Was hitting every shot. Was creating his own shots. And also, shout out to the Izzone as well. That was a pretty raucous environment for a Monday at 2:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
That's probably been the best road environment they've played in. So I
There's
think
a lot of unexcused absences that day.
I think there was a lot of that was even better than the Penn State game, which was an away game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know, that was officially classified by the NCAA as a road game, which could be huge for seeding purposes.
Because that's another quad one win at that point.
Another quad one win, where it would have been a quad 2 win.
Yeah.
And that's I'm glad that someone thought about that, because I was talking about it weeks ago. I'm like, hey, Penn State's a good team. Like, we need to. We're playing them in the state of Pennsylvania.
Penn State controlled all the tickets of that game. They dealt with all the logistics of it. Like, they did everything. It would be like us having a neutral site game at Gamebridge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, having a neutral site game, 45 minutes.
What was the actual reason for them to have the game there instead of at the?
So Shrewsbury is wanting to get a lot of exposure for the Penn State basketball team, because Penn State basketball isn't nearly as popular as Penn State football. So he wants to play at different venues around Pennsylvania, just to kind of get exposure. So this was kind of step number one, was to play in Philadelphia. So I think he plans on doing that, again next year, and maybe even the year after.
Shrew's doing a great job out there.
Idea. He is, man. He really is. Like, I can never not root for him.
I feel like he's a couple years away from just having an absolutely locked down team.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He's doing all the Painter staples too: 3-point shooting, tough defense. Like, he's doing really well.
Yeah, he just doesn't have a 7-footer who is just tall and not skilled whatsoever.
Not skilled. Hasn't improved his game even a little. Yeah.
I take personal offense to when people say that. It just drives me crazy. If I were 7'4", I'd average 40 points per game. Like, okay, man.
It's just such a lazy argument.
Did you see somebody made a post about that today, where they have players? I think one was at Stony Brook, one was at Oral Roberts, another guy was at WKU, and then Florida State. And the Oral Roberts, the Oral Roberts guy. I mean, to be fair, he's averaging like 13 and 7. Not bad, but yeah, no, the argument just makes no sense at all.
When it's like Edey said on The Journey, it's like saying LeBron's only good because he's athletic. I'm like, well, that's actually a really good point. I mean, not a whole lot of difference between the two to make those two comparisons. So, no, I mean, and honestly, in my opinion, when I hear someone say that, that's just them exhibiting their ignorance of basketball in general.
Yeah. That's the guy who catches a game once a week or once every couple weeks who catches the big games and not the other ones. Yeah.
And it really becomes apparent if you go back and watch his very first game. It was during the COVID year. I want to feel like we played Liberty in like the Bahamas or Maui, or like it was one of those types of venues. But he was just so clunky and raw and couldn't. I mean, it was in foul trouble. I mean, it was just it was night and day. It just see how far he's come.
Painter has
he couldn't defend without fouling, and now he's able to do that.
I rewatched the quote twice because it made me laugh so much. And he was talking about Edey in his freshman year. He said Edey would go out there and play 15 minutes, get 13 points, have 5 turnovers, 2 booth reviews, and 3 fouls. And I was like, yeah, like that's exactly what it was. Like, he's like, and the other thing he said, he's like, Edie didn't know how to turn around without elbowing people in the face. I was like, yeah. But it was very cool. Good week.
Kind of real quick, looking forward to our next game. We go on the road this time to Minnesota. Since we last played to Minnesota, they lost at home to Michigan, lost at home to Mississippi State. They did beat Arkansas Pine Bluff. They barely beat Chicago State, who, while not the worst team in D1 like they usually are still not a great team. They lost at Wisconsin. They lost at home to Nebraska. They did beat Ohio State on the road, and then they got blown out at home by Illinois.
Was the Ohio State on the road the phantom foul at the end?
I honestly don't recall.
Yeah, because I think that was one. I want to say number 10, the guy who went crazy when we played him. I can't think of his name. Anyway, yeah, I think Sensabaugh drove to the rim, and their center got all ball block, and it didn't work out or whatever, or vice versa or something. I don't know.
Perhaps that's payback for the phantom. The foul that didn't get called for Rutgers. Yeah. But the main thing is we got to be able to contain Jameson Battle. He went off last time we played him. Dawson Garcia was a non-factor last time we played. I expect that to change. I know he got into some foul trouble. But obviously, Talon Cooper, the guy's shooting 55% from three. We've got to be able to contain those three guys, to win this game. And I'm not going to say this is going to be an easy win, because there's no such thing as an easy win. But they currently sit at 218th in offense in KenPom, and 159th in defense. So, I look for Purdue to put up a lot of points, and but I'm thinking something like an 8 or 9 point win would be my prediction. But any other thoughts on that?
No. So, but just to back up real quick, you talked about that phantom foul at Ohio State. Let's talk about that phantom foul against Edie against Nebraska, where he just passed it across the court.
Yeah,
and they called a foul on him. The only thing I can think of is when he first pump faked, he brought his elbow up. He didn't make contact or anything or get even close, and then he passed it to the other side of the court. And they called that foul. That was insane. And then I wanted to add one more thing about the Nebraska game. I do think that was a good game. I think Lawyer had a great game as well. But Nebraska was also without two of their best players. So they didn't have Griesel, and they didn't have what I can't remember what his name is. But they didn't have both of those guys. So yeah.
But they did have Tominaga, who continues to just torch us. I love him. He is a great player. Juwan Gary is the other guy they didn't have that night.
Yeah.
Damon or Dylan, thoughts on the Minnesota game?
Excited for it. I hate when Purdue has to play Minnesota because it's a terrible court. Yep. As I think Chris and I talk about often. I don't know, man. Purdue by a billion. That's what I always say.
Yep. I think that it'll be double digits. I think that they're going to get their post guys into foul trouble again because they're going to try and double, but I don't think that they have the defensive capability to double correctly, so they're going to get a lot of reaching fouls or hack fouls on them. And Edie's going to have 67 free throws or something in that game. And I think Lawyer's going to continue his success.
I'll be curious to see how the crowd is. They haven't drawn a whole lot of crowds this season. But, anytime the number 3 team is coming to town.
Get everybody's best.
Who knows? Yeah, who knows? So
target on your back.
TBD on that front.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I predict that the first 10 minutes of the game are going to make me really mad. And I'm going to think the sky is falling. And then the second half is going to start. I'm like, oh, it's okay, guys. We're good. Everything's fine.
If only everyone could see Damon's range of emotions in our group chat during pre-basketball.
You have to talk him off the ledge for the 17th time.
And I want to preface this with it's not the fact that I really think the sky is falling. It's I get scared. Okay. I
Yeah,
get scared.
I get it, man.
And I want, because
Judge me.
I see similar things from the past, and then I just go into this like PTSD episode where
Didn't hurt too much.
it's 2004 and Kyle Orton's got the football again, and I just
That's Purdue. That's
No, I
being a
get it,
Purdue
man.
fan, though.
Yeah.
We're a scarred group.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
Oh man.
Well,
Yeah.
I think that's a wrap.
Awesome. Well, thank you to everybody that tuned in tonight. This has been so much fun. I know that we say that a lot, but we've absolutely loved starting this podcast. We love being able to do this and get to hang out weekly, shoot the shit, talk Purdue, and again, get to put a spotlight on Boilermakers from past and present. Brycen, again, thank you for being on Hanger Night. Absolutely so much fun. Getting to know you more, getting to hear about your time in the NFL. Just really, really cool stuff. So again, thank you guys for all tuning in. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Twitter, YouTube. And if you're wanting to find all those links, you can find those at the on the card at the very beginning, right after the intro. Other than that, boiler up, hammer down, and thanks for tuning in.
Well,